Hi there, this is called 20th Century Boy in the Alekhine defense 4 pawns attack, and it's a trap named in honor of the great Irving Cherneff, who was born at the very start of the 20th century in January 1900, and that makes him a 20th century boy. After d4, knight f6 is the Alekhine, e5, knight d5, c4 drives the knight back to b6 and d4. Black obviously doesn't play the inexact knight c6, but d6 the correct move, and white responds with 4 pawns attack with f4. D takes on e5 and f takes on e5, knight c6. Now the pawn on d4 is targeted. If white defends with knight f3, then bishop g4 can pin the knight, so white chooses to defend with bishop e3, and when the bishop comes out now to f5, white could continue with knight c3 or knight f3. So we're looking at knight c3 followed by e6 and now knight f3. And in this not uncommon position, black will usually continue with bishop e7 and maybe castle short, or even move the bishop now twice, bishop from f5 to g4, pinning the knight on f3, which puts more pressure on the pawn on d4, or white can go for this line, queen d7, aiming at long castling. So white plays bishop e2, going to castle as well, and black castles long, white castles short. Opposite end castling usually results in energetic games, and this one is certainly no exception. When black develops with bishop e7, now white could continue with maybe a4, aiming to get to a5, or more conservatively with a3, just taking control of the sometimes important b4 square, or the most lively move, most energetic d5. Opening up the center, hitting the knight, the bishop on e3 is released. When black captures e takes on d5, now first white plays bishop takes on b6, and now after a takes on b6, c takes on d5. Very complicated position, and instead of the text move knight b4, perhaps better was bishop c5 check, sending the king to h1. It makes a subtle but important difference. If knight to b4, white will play knight to d4 first, hitting the bishop. And what's all important in this variation is white's always threatening, in many variations, bishop g4. So if white is threatening knight takes on f5, queen takes on f5, bishop g4 is going to pick up the queen. So g6 defends the bishop, and white can continue now with two what looks like winning lines. Perhaps the best of them would be simply to play d6. And after d6, hitting the bishop, c takes on d6 opens up the c-file. White would continue with bishop b5, hitting the queen, sending the queen to the c-file to c7, and then a3 would hit the knight on b4 and loosen up that square on d5 for the knight, and strategically it's totally over in this variation, with the rook also heading for c1. Also winning, instead of d6 for white, is knight takes on f5, because now after g takes on f5, white can sacrifice on f5 with rook takes on f5, because as mentioned, if queen takes on f5, then bishop g4 is going to pick up the queen, pinning it to the king. So white can continue, or black can continue with knight takes on d5, but that's what will follow here would be not rook e7. That's actually bad, because then black's got bishop c5 check, picking up the rook. That's going to be good for black. Rather, for white, e6 here will do the job. That's going to be winning. It's hitting the queen, and now it's releasing the rook, the knight, and the queen. They're all hitting the knight on d5. And if f takes on e6, then knight take what I've got here, rook takes on d5 is winning for white, because if pawn takes rook, again that same old threat, bishop g4 is picking up the queen and white is winning. So that's a lovely trap. It's called 20th Century Boy. It's in the Alekhine defense, 4 pawns attack. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.